Our son
Okay.
in the same industry that I do, and he was asking. We were talking about the golden handcuff. So
Hmm.
the golden handcuffs are the inducements that your employer uses to bring you on board and then to encourage you to stay. And in HR, I mean, like we're very familiar with those, so that if an employee comes, that we're able to show how we are investing in them. We're trained to give, at the 1 year mark, at the 3 year mark, you're vested. At the 5 year mark, your PTO is continuing to accrue faster. You get access to certain benefits the longer you stay. And I told him, he's making very, very good money, very, very young. And you have to decide, is it worth it? And what we're trying to get our kids to recognize is when you have fewer things that tie you to a place or tie you down like debt, how you can look at those inducements and say, this fits and this doesn't fit, then it's surprising how you can, versus what my husband and I had to do raising them. We were kind of like, well, we can't move right now. It's got to be timed just right. My student loan debt, we had a mortgage. And I was just like, when you feel that tie, then you feel like you've lost your choices.
And the employers know it. The companies know it. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
They know what they're doing.
We put together those packages for employees all the way up to executives, around compensation. The compensation conversation is specifically structured to be able to highlight and negotiate those things that are important to employees. But when you have centered, does this bring me joy? Do I feel respected? When you have relinquished the hold that, because I feel like the whole system is built to keep you in the worker mode. And when you don't buy into those, then you can choose earlier and earlier in your life to not be a worker bee.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways that we did that for them was they didn't have any student loans. We were able, most of them got their stuff completely paid for through, scholarships. The industries that they went into just covered most of it, and we covered the outside, and then they got with employers that had tuition reimbursement. But when the handcuffs don't work is when you have a freedom mindset.
You just reminded me. So most people know that I actually started college. I went to college when I was in my 40s. And the company that I was working for, I sat with them and I just, I asked, I just confirmed. I had heard about it when I first got hired. And then I think maybe within a year of me starting with the company, I said, I'm ready to go to school now. They were like, oh, okay, yes, go for it. Yes, get enrolled. Yes, we do have the tuition reimbursement. Here's how it works. I think within 6 months, the first 6 months, they were like, oh yeah, we canceled that program. Not grandfathered in. They were like, no, we stopped that. No, there's no tuition reimbursement anymore. Psych. Yeah. That out of my control. I'm in it now. Yes. And I was just like, oh, okay. And stuff. And as I was going through each year, I started getting more and more pissed because I was like, you got to pay this money back. There's no tuition to me.
Yes.
Yeah, they dangled the carrot and they were like, no. And didn't even they didn't even do who do we know right now that's at our company that's trying to better themselves? And yeah, how can we get the list of those people that we know are in class right now or in school right now so we can actually talk to them? Yeah, nope. Not at all.
Just cut the program. Yep.
Same
happened to my husband. He was doing what do you call that? Public administration. Girl, they get you. They're gonna get you one way or they're gonna get you the other. And I it's salary and benefits. People should be, considering negotiating those, both aspects of those when you're looking to be hired. But where I feel like the first taste of it that I got for, not necessarily, Yeah, I'm not out here trying to get fired. So I'm trying to choose my words careful.
Be careful now. Okay.
But that's not a big deal to me. That when you are, I don't feel as much pressure, and I'm realizing there's some things that I can do to feel less pressure to stay or to be less fearful. This environment, talking about control, a lot of folks in HR, which is my industry, DE&I is people are losing their jobs. Human resources does not make the company money. You and I were talking about that. It is
Mhm.
not a revenue generating department. And so, my concern always is could my position be cut? What does that mean for my family? What does that mean for how we're going to be able to save? I don't ever put an employer in the front seat of that discussion anymore. I'm like,
Mm.
you need to have something or some things that you do so that if they decide that they're not going to give you a 2-week notice, they're going to tell you, we are shutting down whatever, and you have a specific amount of time. I don't go in a tizzy because I've done my research like we've talked about before, and I haven't put all my eggs in a basket. If
Yeah.
you need to look at your life and look at what are some things I can control about my behavior, my spending habits, how I rest so that I come with fresh eyes and fresh energy. It is not a flex to have dozens and dozens of hours of PTO just sitting there. Use it.
Hmm.
I think a lot of my ability to be able to say I don't need to be in control is that I've had some rest.
Yes.
When you feel rested, it's amazing how your your brain can be creative. And you can spend some time saying, what do I do well? And a lot of people will pay you for the things that you do well. If you are a woman of a certain age, you didn't survive out here. Even if somebody else was funding your life, you know how to, what do you thought? Win friends and influence people. You know how to do that. And that is a valuable skill. We've got to look at what do we bring? What do we bring to the table? How am I taking my power back?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that, when we talk about, especially the job, and for me, and my comparison was they were dangling the money, they were dangling the bonuses. And I eventually, because every time I would get my bonus and I'd be like, girl, oh, that was
Yes,
amazing.
yes, that bonus is beautiful.
Ooh, I got to spend this, blah, blah, blah. And then they just keep going back to treating me like crap, or just my blood pressure is still raising up. And I was like, this is like that horrible, horrible boyfriend or man in your life, or that significant other in your life that you are just waiting on that awesome big orgasm. And then they just still treat you like crap. And you just in the glory and the glow of it for like a few minutes or whatever and stuff. Just like, oh my goodness, that was so amazing. He's not the
They
only one
still
out there. And
crummy.
that job's not the only one out there.
Preach. Preach.
He's not yet. You can get your big
Is it
nose.
worth?
You can get
Is
your
it
big money
worth?
from somebody
Is
else
it
or
worth
somewhere
that
else.
occasional good orgasm? Maybe, but most of the time, no.
Ain't the only one. That is not your only source for pleasure. That horrible job that gives you that great money is not your only source for income. You just have to figure it out.
No,
Yeah.
come
Okay.
on, because when the choice isn't yours to leave, I
Mm-hmm.
reread. I went in to look up what happened to the employees at Enron. You got to be old enough to know. So Enron was in Texas, huge company that went bankrupt, and many of the employees, because the company's stock was something that they offered to employees,
Encouraged.
and most of the employees put 100% of their retirement savings into the company because they were going to be able to retire millionaires or multimillionaires. And when the company went belly up, so did their retirement savings. Y'all, I was in my 20s, maybe my early 20s, and just I wasn't even retirement age, and it hurt me.
Yes,
It
I
hurt me
remember that.
deep. And so I went back to see what happened. They interviewed some folks like 10 years or so later, after it ended. So you're talking about people that are post-retirement age. So we're talking 70s and above. What happened? Some of them had to find ways to go back to work. I mean, I'm
And
in
then
my
if they were
early
a certain
50s.
age, you're looking at age discrimination because
Exactly. That's exactly where I was
yeah,
going. I was just like, you think I want to be out here in this job market looking for
yep,
another job because the company that I invested in went belly up. And what wound up happening was people said, I have to be resourceful. One lady said, I never would have gotten into real estate, but because this job ended, I was able to pivot into this new career that I'm able to do well. I was able to transfer. I saw transferable skills between the
skills.
job
Yep.
that I was doing that I could now do for myself. And I feel like, especially as Black women, we're out here making money for somebody. If they're paying you $40,000 a year, they're probably making 80 off of your effort.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So what are the soft skills and the hard skills that you have that you can have more control over your work, your
Yourself
money?
and yes.
Yeah, because some of this you have to take responsibility for. Sometimes you have to look that person in the face and say, I appreciate you, but the door is over there. And
No, thank
there
you.
there are
I value
other ways
myself.
to achieve what you bring me sometime. You know what I'm saying? And it is
Mm.
uncomfortable. It is not, quote unquote, the safest, most stable way, but you've got numerous examples around you. You trying to give a job a 2-week notice when they ready to go, when they're ready to do what they're going to do to achieve their bottom line. They're not saying, well, this person has a child in college. This
Okay.
person has a mortgage. That is not under their consideration. How are you looking out for yourself so that when you're in a situation, the bottom doesn't drop out because you didn't put all your eggs in one
Yeah.
basket? Same for this move abroad process. I've got my, okay, if all things are equal, this is the place I want to be. But if that doesn't work, then I got this other place that I know lines up with my values, and my non-negotiables. And then I got a plan C because things can change.
Yeah.
I may need to be closer to the States. How have I secured, that opportunity to still live abroad, but I'm not back in the States because that's my new value. So
Yeah.
I feel like we can, if we are thoughtful about it, but I don't want to be so caught up in, I got to have this and I got to have that I forgot about joy and peace and centering ease and capitalizing on the freedom. Don't become your toxic boss, your own toxic boss.
Mm.